Steve Suggs, author of the book, Can They Sell? Thank you for joining me today for yet another free video on recruiting the best salespeople. The book you ordered should arrive very soon, and until it does, please enjoy some more free recruiting training. In the past videos, we talked about the top 3 questions most sales managers want to know when recruiting salespeople. Number 1, where to find the best salespeople to interview, and number 2, what to look for. There we looked at the 5 dimensions of the best salesperson profile. And number 3, how to look for the best salespeople. How to use a best practice system to recruit the best. In the past 2 videos, I answered the first 2 questions: where to find great candidates to interview and what to look for. Today, I'm going to spend some time answering the 3rd question: how do I look for the traits and skills in the best salespeople? I'll also give you some secrets of great interviewers. These secrets will show you how to get the great salespeople to shine during the interview and make weak salespeople struggle. The Recruit the Best system was pioneered by my business partner Lance Cooper and I over the past 11 years. We've used this system to help companies increase sales by as much as 70% just by recruiting better salespeople. Sales managers that use this system are actually thriving and enjoying their jobs more than ever before. We've spent hours reading the best books on recruiting, talking to the experts, and getting years of real-world experience using and refining this system. This system, appropriately named Recruit the Best, will change the way you recruit and coach your sales team. So get ready to take your recruiting to a whole new level. In the first video of this series, we talked about Henry Ford and how he changed the world by using a system of mass production to help any working person afford a car. His contribution to mankind was efficient productivity. He created a system with knowledge, tools, and skills. Recruit the Best system gives you knowledge of human behavior, recruiting tools, and recruiting skills. Master this system and you'll begin to recruit sales superstars and become a great coach. Here's the system. The Recruit the Best system contains 3 stages. After finding great candidates using a network of referral sources, we move the candidates through these 3 stages: screening, profiling, and interviewing. Stage 1, screening. In this stage, we screen resumes, then screen by phone using our phone screen questionnaire. From the very beginning, it's important to start looking for the first 2 dimensions in the best salesperson profile: attitudes and motivations. I like to ask this question to measure the candidate's attitudes toward my company's products and their image of themselves as a salesperson. What's been your experience with purchasing or selling products like we sell, and your experience with dealing with salespeople from our industry? I want to know if they speak positively of our products, industry, and salespeople. Negative words indicate negative attitudes toward product and salespeople. This next question measures candidates' motivations to work hard to earn money to make life better for themselves, which is the second of the 5 dimensions of the best salesperson profile. Here's the question: what are some current and long-term needs that will be satisfied if you do this job well? I'm looking for specific things. I want them to tell me how they'll provide for others. I want to hear about their long-term career goals, how they might pay off debt, save for retirement, save for the college education of their children, advance in their career, and hear a clear description of their goals. There are several other questions on the phone screen questionnaire. In a few minutes, I'll tell you how to get this questionnaire and some other questionnaires. For those candidates who pass the phone screen, we send them an email questionnaire for further screening. We ask questions like, what do you think this job involves? And what do you think it'll take to be successful here? These questions not only give us good information about the candidate's perspective on the career, but it also gives us the opportunity to measure their written communication skills. Those candidates who make it past these 2 steps are sent a homework assignment in preparation for the initial face-to-face interview. This assignment is a simple task. The candidate is directed to click on the link provided in the email to view information about the company and career. We conduct this first in-person interview using the initial interview questionnaire. A quick note here. Some choose to give the craft personality questionnaire prior to the first face-to-face interview. And there are 2 schools of thought. Some are in a situation where their time to conduct the initial interview is more valuable than the cost of the CPQ. Others have more time to invest in the initial interview, so they wait to order the CPQ if the candidate passes the interview. It's all a matter of the cost of your time. I've seen both approaches work equally well. The initial interview questionnaire explores all 5 dimensions of the best salesperson profile. Here are some sample questions. The first question tests to see if they did the homework in the email by researching the company. Here's the question. What do you know about our industry, our company, and what you'd be doing as a salesperson at our company? I'm looking to see if they did the homework by going to the websites and researching the company and career. Can they describe my products? Can they describe the job as a salesperson? We measure character by getting candidates to tell us stories about the people who've influenced them in the past and ways their character was built. Begin by asking, who's had the most influence on you in shaping your career? Then ask, what are some of the most important life lessons they taught you? Strong candidates will have one or more significant stories about a huge impact a parent, teacher, or coach had on the development of a specific character trait. Continue by asking questions about honesty. Ask, what did they teach you about honesty? How has their teaching you about honesty benefited you? Tell me about a time in your life when you may not have lived up to their expectations. You're looking for words like truth, never lie, lying doesn't work, always do the right thing. We then measure work ethic by asking, what is your definition of work ethic? You're looking for words like hard work, productive, time management, multitasking, driven, focused, disciplined. Then ask, what did your parents or mentors teach you about work ethic? Again, we're looking for stories that show candidates have been influenced by parents and mentors in ways that bonded the candidate to these traits. Sample questions for measuring personal responsibility include questions like these. Tell me about a time in your life when you were given an important task to do and you didn't meet the expectations of the person who gave you the task. What went wrong? What should you have done differently? Mature candidates spend more time admitting their mistakes and talking about the wrong choices they made versus blaming others. Many other questions measure personality. Candidates who pass this stage are asked to provide 6 references. I have a unique way of asking for references that gets 6 references of people who will actually talk to me and tell me about the candidate. I ask for 2 previous bosses, 2 coworkers, and 2 business people or 2 former customers. You'll have to wait to read about this in the book when it arrives. This stage provides 20 to 30% of the information needed to hire well. Let's now look at stage 2 in more detail. Profiling. In this stage, we take the stronger candidates and administer a personality assessment to test for personality traits in line with our best salesperson profile. For the past 11 years, I've used the Kraft Personality Questionnaire, or the CPQ. The CPQ is a great tool that uses science to give us an accurate read on the hardwired traits of the candidate. This stage provides another 20 to 30% of the information needed to hire well. Next stage is stage 3, interviewing. In this stage, we conduct an in-depth interview using the in-depth interview questionnaire. This is a final cross-check interview. You should now know the applicant pretty well. This final interview is your opportunity to address any lingering issues and to reconfirm what you may have discovered or concluded in previous steps. At the end of this stage, you should have a really good measure of the candidate's strengths and weaknesses. This step provides a final 20 to 30% of the information needed to hire well. You're now ready to fill out the matching score sheet. Here, you will give the candidate a score in each of the 5 areas of the best salesperson profile. This tool is found on the last page of your book. It's important to take the emotion out of the interview process. The matching score sheet helps us make a logical decision by continuing to ask questions of the candidates until we're satisfied that we can give each candidate an accurate score on each dimension of the best salesperson profile. Another tool you'll find in the book is the Recruit the Best checklist. On page 182, you'll find a checklist of the steps to follow for each candidate. This list will guide you through all 3 stages of the Recruit the Best system. Use this checklist with every candidate. After you complete a step, check it as completed. This tool will help you stay focused and disciplined during the recruiting process. Keep a copy of this sheet in the file of all candidates to aid in your discussion with other members of your recruiting team. Remember, do not skip a step. The temptation is to rush those candidates who you like through the process. This checklist, along with the matching score sheet, helps you make a logical rather than emotional recruiting decision. Each stage gives us 20 to 30% of the information that we need to make a great hire. As you can see, this system is a balanced approach. We're not just using interview questions or just a personality assessment. It's all of these tools working in concert with each other that helps us measure each candidate's strengths and weaknesses. After we hire someone, we know what to coach. You now have the foundation of a best practice recruiting system: screening, profiling, and interviewing. I've told you about the tools you'll need in all 3 steps of the Recruit the Best system. What I'd like to do now is give you some secrets to becoming a great interviewer. Have you ever listened in frustration to news conferences with polished politicians? Reporters ask questions, but the politicians never really answer in a direct or concrete way. Job interviews can be the same way if you let them. I once asked a sales leader candidate to tell me about a situation, real or imagined, where a sales rep was at 30% of quota at the middle of the month, and what he would do or say to coach the sales rep to get him to reach quota by the end of the month. Instead of giving me a specific example that answered my question, the sales leader candidate attempted to skirt around the question and his polished philosophy of the importance of sales targets. I finally had to interrupt him and say, "Have you had a conversation in the past several weeks with one of your sales reps using the philosophy of sales targets that you just described to me?" He said yes. And I had to tell him, "Well, please tell me that story of what you did with the sales rep and what was the outcome." He again gave me a very vague general story. After this second failed attempt, it was easy for me to see that he didn't really understand sales metrics or how to use metrics to coach his sales reps. In the end, it was clear that while he talked a good game, he didn't really have the experience that we were looking for. Well, not long thereafter, I had an almost identical answer on the same question. But when I told the candidate to tell me a story of when she used her philosophy with an actual sales rep, she gave me a great story of how she actually helped the rep succeed. And it was clear that she knew how to apply her knowledge. It's important to have the right questions and to get at the real answer to be able to measure specific attributes. As an interviewer, it's important in the interview that you get specific examples of when the candidates have done specific things to get a specific result. What you're looking for is a specific plan. In other words, the way the candidates track their activities and hold themselves accountable to the goal. Many interviewees can give you philosophy and eloquence. And if you're not listening very carefully, or if you're having a very low energy day, you might be influenced by their eloquence. Learning to conduct an effective face-to-face interview is a skill that must be developed. When you handle yourself in a very professional manner, in which you put the burden on the candidate to sell you, your job becomes easier. Strong candidates naturally shine without your effort to befriend them. Weaker candidates naturally struggle when you act professionally without a "we really need you here" attitude. Have you ever wondered why you like candidates during the interview and when they get on the job they simply don't perform? Well, let me answer this question by telling you a story which for me was very illuminating. I was at a dinner club with my wife, seated at a table with a couple who we'd never met before. And my wife really doesn't like to talk too much and doesn't like it when I talk too much, so I decided to try an experiment. I kept asking open-ended questions and encouraging this couple to talk about themselves. I began with, "Where are you from?" and followed it up with, "Really, what was it like growing up there?" This was enough to keep them going and talking throughout the entire evening, and by the end of the evening, they actually commented on how much they liked us and felt sure they had met us before. They warmly talked about how close they felt to us and enjoyed getting to know us. I was a little confused as to why they thought they knew us when in fact they didn't know anything about us at all. They didn't really ask us any questions about ourselves. With my prompting, they had talked about themselves all evening long. And getting home later and reflecting on this story, I realized that there's a really important lesson here for sales managers and recruiters. The unfortunate reality about human behavior is that the more that we talk about ourselves, the more we like the people to whom we're talking. We don't have to sell the candidates on our company as much as we might think. The more we let them talk, the more they like our company and they want to work for us. Conversely, the more that we talk about ourselves and our company to the candidates, the more we like the candidates and want them to come to work for us, whether they really should or not. I remember working with a new client on a project to hire a sales leader. Part of the project was for the client and me to interview candidates together. After the interviews, the president of the division told me that the candidates said that I was a nice and professional guy, but I was a brutal interviewer. They said they had never been through anything like that, and he wanted to know what I did. Well, the answer to what they thought was so brutal was very simple. I explained to the president that I simply read the questions and didn't talk. He was a little surprised. Well, I have two interviewing secrets that will quickly make anyone a master interviewer. One, I'm always prepared with specific questions tied to my best salesperson profile. And two, I simply read the questions, record the information, and move to the next question. I know what I'm looking for, and I have the tools to look for it. And I always remain calm and confident during the interview. I keep very neutral facial expressions, being careful to not nod my head in agreement. And I avoid adding my own stories, which can inadvertently lead the candidate. The real secret to getting to the truth from an interviewee is in the silence. Just read the question and be quiet. If they don't answer the question, I simply ask it again. After the second attempt, I just simply assume that they don't have a good answer. X Factor creator and judge Simon Cowell is very good at this. You know what he's thinking afterwards because he'll tell you, but he offers no encouragement, feedback, or direction while contestants are performing. They have to generate it themselves. L.A. Reid, on the other hand, is leading the contestants during the entire performance by nodding his head with the beat. By his body language, he's encouraging and directing the contestant the entire time. At that point, the contestant's focused on encouraging or changing L.A.'s reaction, not on genuinely being himself or herself. Simon is actually the better judge because he makes the contestant give their true performance without encouragement or tips from him. They must generate it all from within. They must bring their top performance to the evaluation stage. He's a master at understanding the personal uniqueness of each contestant. Most of your interviewees are good performers. If you give them any clues or interact with them, they'll put on their game face and go to town performing. Give them no clues and you get their genuine uniqueness. Sometimes it's pretty and other times it's just simply ugly. But you know the truth. When candidates leave the interview and when asked how the interview went, their answer should be, "I'm not really sure. I really got no reaction from the interviewer as to how I was doing." This reaction is an indication of a successful interview. You get the raw, non-embellished information you need to make a hiring decision when you keep your emotions hidden during the interview. You might be thinking that you risk offending great candidates and not making them feel welcome. It's quite the opposite. Great candidates like the challenge this type of interview presents. Confident salespeople rise to the challenge and do their best whether the interviewer is warm and engaging or unemotional. Strong candidates are more attractive to the pleasantly calm and confident manager than to the sell-them-on-the-career type manager. My wife has always known about the power of keeping your emotions in check during difficult conversations. Maybe because she doesn't like to talk much, she's a better listener. Whatever the reason, she's always known how to direct the conversation through silence. When my children were either being punished or struggling with something, she'd let them talk, and then she would ask a question. She'd let them talk some more, and by the end of the conversation, they'd talk themselves into the very thing she wanted them to do. When we have a great set of interview questions and show the candidates respect by listening carefully to their answers, they'll tell us all we need to know to measure their traits and skills. Many times they even reveal helpful personal information about themselves that we legally can't ask. Do your homework. I always recommend assigning homework to the candidates to see how aggressively they'll work to get the job. It's a good idea to do some homework of your own on the candidates before they arrive. Our celebrity-obsessed culture makes it okay to post every detail of our lives on Facebook and elsewhere. It gives us what pop culture icon Andy Warhol dubbed as our 15 minutes of fame. So take advantage of all this in-depth information candidates post on the internet. Before you interview candidates, read their Facebook post and LinkedIn profile. You'll learn a lot about them from the things they share about their lives. Here are some more tips for interviewing. Listen at least 80% of the time. Do not talk more than 20% of the time together with the candidate. Do not grill the candidate. Merely ask the questions and move on. Ask for specific examples. Don't settle for vague general answers to questions. Ask the questions exactly as they're written. Do not paraphrase the question with information. This leads the candidate. Do not restate the question. If the candidate does not understand or wants clarification, tell him or her to answer the question based on his or her best understanding of the question. Ask all the questions in order. Don't skip around. Follow the system as written. It's okay to interrupt the candidate. If a candidate rambles, just simply ask this question. What was my question? Smart candidates will get the hint about rambling. Until the end of the process, don't sell the candidate on the career. Sell them on the process as a mutual fit discovery for both parties. The strongest candidates will sell you on their abilities. After the candidate answers the question, move to the next question. Don't react emotionally. Please don't tell a personal story that relates to the example that the candidate just gave you. Don't tell the candidate that you understand how they feel. And don't say things like, I would have done the same thing. Do not answer the question, what would you have done? Never promise to call the candidates back or let them know how they did. Say this instead. Thank you for answering my questions today. We're looking at a lot of candidates, and as I continue to evaluate candidates, I will keep your information in mind. There are several reasons for telling the candidate this. There are some candidates that I'm not at all interested in, and I don't want to lead them on. If I'm interested, I ask the candidate, what questions do you have for me? This gives the candidate the perfect opportunity to ask me about the next step. Strong candidates are always asking, what's next? Did I get the job? It's also a good idea not to tell them that they flunked, even if they did. It can get you into legal, social, or emotional trouble, so it's best to not give evaluations of their interview. Just a thank you for your time is fine. And repeat, we're looking at many candidates, and I'll keep your information in mind. Just leave it at that. It's your job to pick a candidate, not give career advice. Even with the best intentions, you expose yourself to multiple lawsuits if you start talking too much or you're too candid with a candidate. Tell the candidates that you're looking for the best of the best, a top performer to be on the team, someone who can rise to the top in a fast-paced, high-activity, high-rejection environment. Let them sell you on why he or she is the right person for the job. Let them know that this is a great place to work on a strong team for the right person. Don't paint an unrealistic picture by telling them, for example, that this is a fun place to work with low stress. Do use the matching sheet. Do not get emotionally excited about a candidate and skip steps in the process. For the first time since we created these tools, we're making all of them available to you in a downloadable field manual. You can now purchase and download this field manual. Then, when you're interviewing, you'll have copies of all the tools stored on your computer and can print copies to use while you're recruiting. I hope you've benefited from this free training. All the knowledge I've shared with you during these videos is in the book. The tools I've mentioned are available in a field manual that I've built for you. This field manual is normally sold to companies who contract us to train their salespeople on the Recruit the Best system. We charge these companies $295 each for the training manuals that contain these tools. Since you've purchased the book, Can They Sell?, I'm making the field manual available to you for $49.95. Once you buy this field manual, it's yours to keep forever. It contains the checklist, the complete phone interview questionnaire, and the email questionnaire. It also contains the complete initial interview and in-depth questionnaires, with dozens of skillfully crafted interview questions that help you measure the traits and skills in the best salesperson profile. You'll get questionnaires to use when calling references and a questionnaire other team members can use while interviewing candidates. All the tools you need for a complete recruiting system are in this field manual. What I'd like for you to do now is click on the Add to Cart button below and get your field manual today. When your book arrives, you'll have the complete Recruit the Best system. You're getting access to this complete system at a discount of over $200. You're going to love it. Please leave comments below because I respond to every single comment. Get your copy of the field manual and tell your friends and colleagues by clicking on the Tell a Friend button below this video. As you're using the system and you order a CPQ, call me and I'll give you some personal coaching on your candidates. Please like me on Facebook, link to me on LinkedIn, and follow me on Twitter. Thank you for being here. One quick note, please keep in mind that the field manual is copyrighted material. Please protect yourself from copyright infringement by not forwarding the files to friends and colleagues. Simply tell them to go to cantheysell.com to get their copy of the book and field manual today. Now go recruit the best.